I walked into my wife's company to surprise her, but the security guard said her husband was already inside. That's when I realized my entire life had been a lie. This story has more layers of deception than a Fortune 500 tax return. But before I tell you about the boardroom confrontation that changed everything, hit subscribe and tell me, have you ever discovered someone you loved was living a completely different life? I'm Jaden Murphy, and 3 years ago, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. Beautiful wife, successful daughter, a company we'd built together from nothing. I was so wrong about everything that it's almost funny. Almost. The day that shattered my world started like any other Tuesday. I'd been in treatment for PTSD, combat engineer, Iraq, the usual story. 3 years of therapy, medication, slow healing. Victoria, my wife, had been incredibly supportive. Take all the time you need, honey. I'll handle the company. Sophia's doing great at college. Focus on getting better. Such a caring wife, such a devoted daughter. I decided to surprise Victoria at the office. Pinnacle Dynamics, our baby. We'd started it in our garage in 1998 with my $850,000 military settlement and her business degree. 25 years later, it was worth $195 million. Not bad for 2 kids who met at a diner in Riverside. I pulled into the parking lot at 2:15 that Tuesday afternoon feeling nervous. Good nervous. Ready to rejoin the world nervous. I'd bought Victoria's favorite flowers, white orchids. Expensive, but worth it for the woman who'd stood by me through everything. The receptionist looked confused when I walked in. "I'm here to see Victoria Murphy," I said. "I'm her husband." She blinked twice, checked her computer. "I'm sorry, sir, but Mrs. Murphy's husband is already here. He's in conference room A with her and their daughter." The world tilted sideways. "Their daughter?" "Yes, sir. Mr. Thompson arrived about an hour ago for the family meeting." Thompson, not Murphy. Thompson. I stood there holding those white orchids, watching this young woman's face as she realized something was very, very wrong. "Could you point me toward conference room A?" I asked quietly. "Sir, maybe I should call security. That won't be necessary." But I knew, walking down that hallway, that everything was about to change. To beat 447, 450 words. Let me back up and tell you how we got here, because the betrayal runs deeper than just a cheating wife. Victoria and I met in 1997. I was fresh out of the military. She was finishing her MBA. Smart, ambitious, beautiful. She said she loved my steadiness, my work ethic, my quiet strength. I was 29, she was 23. Within 6 months, we were married. The wedding was small, just her family, my sister, a few friends. Victoria's parents seemed nice enough, though they asked a lot of questions about my financial prospects. I thought they were just protective parents. 3 months after we married, Victoria came home with a bombshell. "I'm pregnant," she said. "But honey, there's something else. The baby, she's not yours." She explained through tears, a relationship that had ended just before we met. She'd just found out. She was scared, didn't know what to do. I held her while she cried. "We'll raise her together," I said. "She'll be our daughter." That's how Sophia came into my life. Born in January 1998, 6 months after our wedding. Brown eyes, dark hair, beautiful little girl. I signed the birth certificate. Jaden Murphy, father. It felt right. Victoria threw herself into building the company while I handled the technical side. My military settlement gave us startup capital. Her business sense and my engineering background made us unstoppable. By the time Sophia was 5, we were millionaires. By the time she was 15, we were worth $50 million. I never questioned the timing. Sophia looked enough like Victoria that I never thought twice about paternity. Kids change, right? Genetics are weird. Besides, I was busy being a father. Soccer games, school plays, helping with homework. When Sophia turned 16 and asked for a car, I bought her a BMW. When she needed college tuition, I wrote the check. Stanford wasn't cheap. $48,000 a year for 4 years. Then her MBA program. Another $200,000. I worked overtime to pay for everything. Victoria handled the business side while I focused on engineering contracts. Military suppliers? Defense contractors? Good, steady money. The company grew. By 2020, Victoria was CEO, and I was ready to step back. My PTSD was getting worse. Nightmares, anxiety attacks, the whole package. Victoria suggested I take time off. Pinnacle is stable, she said. I can handle operations. You've earned a rest. So I did. 3 years of treatment, therapy, healing. Victoria visited every few weeks. Sophia called regularly, always needing money, but always saying, I love you, Daddy. Such a devoted family. Always there for me, except apparently they weren't there for me at all. Beat 2, 897, 900 words. Conference room. A had glass walls. I could see them before they could see me. Victoria sat at the head of the table in her signature red blazer, silver hair pulled back in that executive style she'd perfected. Still beautiful at 50, still commanding. Across from her sat a man I didn't recognize. Mid-40s, Latino, expensive suit, dark hair, confident posture. He was leaning back in his chair like he owned the place. And there was Sophia, my daughter, 26 now, graduated, supposedly working at a marketing firm in San Francisco. Except she was sitting right there in our conference room, wearing a Pinnacle Dynamics employee badge. They were laughing about something. The man reached over and squeezed Victoria's hand. Intimate. Familiar. That's when I realized Sophia's employee badge didn't say Sophia Murphy. It said Sophia Thompson. I pushed open the conference room door. Hello, honey. Surprise. The silence was deafening. Victoria's face went white. The man straightened in his chair. Sophia looked like she'd seen a ghost. Jaden, Victoria said slowly, what are you doing here? Visiting my wife at our company. Is that a problem? The man stood up, extended his hand. Marcus Thompson, COO, and you are? I stared at that outstretched hand. I'm Jaden Murphy, Victoria's husband, owner of 51% of this company. Marcus glanced at Victoria, confusion flickering across his face. I'm sorry, there must be some mistake. Victoria is my wife. We've been married 25 years. The room started spinning. That's impossible. Daddy, Sophia said quietly, maybe you should sit down. Don't call me that. The words came out harder than I intended. Your badge says Thompson, not Murphy. Victoria stood up, moved toward me with practiced concern. Jaden, honey, you're having an episode. You've been in treatment. This must be very confusing, but I'm not confused. I pulled out my phone, showed them my lock screen, a family photo from Sophia's college graduation. This is my wife. This is my daughter. This is the company we built together. Marcus was studying the photo. Victoria, who is this man? That's when Victoria made her choice. She looked at Marcus, then back at me. I'm sorry, Jaden. I don't know how to tell you this gently. You've been unwell. We were never married. Sophia isn't your daughter. You've been confused about your relationship with our family. Our family? The words felt like ice water in my veins. Marcus is my husband, Victoria said softly. Sophia is our daughter. You've been a family friend, someone we tried to help during your difficulties. I looked at Sophia, my little girl, the child I'd raised, loved, sacrificed for. Sophia? She wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, Mr. Murphy. Mom's telling the truth. Marcus stepped forward. Sir, I think you need help. Should we call someone? That's when I noticed security had appeared in the doorway. 2 guards waiting for Victoria's signal. I was outnumbered, outplayed, standing in a conference room in what I thought was my own company, being told by my own family that I was a delusional stranger. You need to leave, Victoria said firmly. Now, before this gets ugly. I walked out of that conference room, my whole life crumbling behind me. But as I reached the elevator, I heard Sophia whisper to Marcus, Do you think he knows about the money? Beat 3, 720 words. That night, I sat in my apartment, which I suddenly realized was in my name only, and tried to make sense of what had happened. I pulled out every document I owned, marriage certificate, birth certificates, company papers, tax returns, everything that proved my life was real. The marriage certificate looked right. Jaden Murphy married to Victoria Rodriguez, June 15th, 1997. Witnessed, notarized, filed with the county. Sophia's birth certificate listed me as father, Jaden Murphy, age 29. But when I went online and pulled the current corporate filings for Pinnacle Dynamics, my name was nowhere to be found. The company was owned by Thompson Holdings, LLC. Officers listed: Victoria Thompson, CEO; Marcus Thompson, COO; Sophia Thompson, Marketing Director. No mention of Jaden Murphy anywhere. I called the California Secretary of State office. I need to check the incorporation records for Pinnacle Dynamics, founded 1998. The clerk was helpful. Sir, I show Pinnacle Dynamics incorporated in 1998 by Marcus and Victoria Thompson. Would you like me to email you the filing documents? That's impossible. I co-founded that company. I'm sorry, sir. The records show Thompson ownership from incorporation. But I had the original paperwork. In my file cabinet, Jaden Murphy, 51%, Victoria Murphy, 49%, signed, notarized, filed. Except when I compared my documents to what the state had on file, something was wrong. Subtle differences in the formatting, different notary stamps, different witness signatures. My documents were forgeries. Professional forgeries, but forgeries nonetheless. I spent 3 days going through everything: bank records, credit reports, property deeds. Slowly, a picture emerged that made my blood run cold. For the past 4 years, ever since I'd started treatment, money had been systematically removed from my accounts. Not stolen exactly, transferred to accounts I'd apparently authorized but never remembered authorizing. $5,000 here, $10,000 there, tuition payments for Sophia, living expenses, medical costs. Over $2.8 million moved from my accounts to various Thompson family entities. But here's the thing that made me absolutely certain something criminal was happening. The transfers were authorized with my signature. Perfect copies of my signature. On documents I'd never seen, for expenses I'd never approved, to people who claimed they'd never heard of me. Someone had been systematically draining my life savings while erasing me from my own company, and they'd gotten very, very good at it. I pulled Sophia's college records: Stanford University, class of 2020, MBA program, graduated 2022. But when I called Stanford's financial aid office, they had no record of Jaden Murphy ever making tuition payments. The payments had come from Marcus Thompson, every single one. I'd been sending money to pay for my daughter's education, but the school never received it from me. Someone else had been paying her tuition while keeping my money. That's when I realized I needed professional help. Not the psychiatric kind, the investigative kind. I made 2 phone calls. First to Elizabeth Hayes, a private investigator who specialized in financial fraud. Second, to James Patterson, an attorney who handled corporate litigation. Mr. Murphy, Elizabeth said when I explained the situation, what you're describing sounds like identity theft, corporate fraud, and possibly organized criminal activity. This is going to require some serious digging. How serious? The kind that can send people to federal prison for 20 years. 3 days later, Elizabeth called me back. Jaden, we need to meet. Privately. What I found is going to blow your mind. That phone call was the beginning of the end for the Thompson family empire. Beat 4, 895, 900 words. Elizabeth Hayes didn't look like the kind of person who could tear apart a criminal empire. Mid-50s, gray hair, grandmother vibe. She met me at a diner in Riverside carrying a banker's box full of documents. Coffee first, she said, settling into a booth. Then we'll discuss how your family has been running a multi-million-dollar fraud operation for the past 8 years. 8 years? I thought this started when I went into treatment. Oh, Jaden, this started way before that. Your treatment just gave them an opportunity to accelerate. She opened the box, pulled out a manila folder. Let's start with Sophia. Born January 15th, 1998. Father listed on the birth certificate as unknown. That's impossible. I'm listed as her father. You are listed as her father on the birth certificate you have. But that's not the birth certificate on file with the state of California. She slid the document across the table. This is the original. Sofia Rodriguez, later Thompson, father unknown, mother Victoria Rodriguez. I stared at the document. Rodriguez? Victoria was never Murphy. She's been Victoria Rodriguez, then Victoria Thompson, her entire adult life. Your marriage certificate is a beautiful fake, but it's still a fake. The diner seemed to tilt around me. What about the company? Pinnacle Dynamics was incorporated by Marcus and Victoria Thompson in 1998. Your $850,000 military settlement was deposited into a Pinnacle account, yes, but it was deposited as what they called a business loan from Jaden Murphy to Thompson Holdings. A loan? A loan they've been paying back to you in installments for 25 years. Except the installments stopped in 2019, right around the time you started having severe PTSD episodes. Elizabeth pulled out bank statements. Look at this. Every month from 1998 to 2019, Pinnacle paid Jaden Murphy exactly $3,400. Loan repayment plus interest. That's what I thought was my salary. It was loan repayment. You were never an employee. You were never an owner. You were a creditor. The mathematics were brutal and precise. For 21 years, I'd been receiving what I thought was a modest salary from my own company. In reality, it was repayment of my own money, loaned to a company that was never mine. But I worked there. I had an office. I designed products. You worked there as an independent contractor, very well compensated, but still a contractor. All the intellectual property you created belonged to Pinnacle, not to you. Elizabeth spread out more documents. Here's where it gets really interesting. In 2019, when your PTSD got worse, they told you the company was doing great, and you should take time off. They were right about the company doing great. What they didn't tell you was that they were about to stop making your loan payments. So I'm owed money? You're owed $1.4 million in remaining loan balance, plus interest, plus penalties for early termination. But that's not the really bad news. There's worse news? The really bad news is that while you were in treatment, someone with power of attorney over your affairs has been authorizing large financial transactions. She showed me documents I'd never seen. Powers of attorney, signed with my name, giving Victoria Murphy, a person who legally didn't exist, authority over my finances. Except Victoria Murphy has no legal standing to hold power of attorney because Victoria Murphy doesn't exist. So all these transactions are fraudulent. How much money are we talking about? $2.8 million moved from your accounts to various Thompson family entities over the past 4 years. Tuition for Sophia, living expenses, investment accounts, even a vacation home in Cabo. They bought a house with my money? They bought several houses. The Cabo place is worth $800,000. There's also a condo in Aspen, and they've been paying for Sophia's lifestyle in San Francisco. Apartment, car, credit cards, all charged to accounts they set up in your name. Elizabeth closed the folder. Jaden, you've been the victim of a sophisticated long-term financial fraud. But here's what's going to make you really angry. Sophia has known the truth about her parentage since she was 16. How do you know that? Because I found her real birth certificate in her apartment, along with some very interesting correspondence between her and Marcus about managing Daddy Jaden's contributions. You broke into her apartment? I didn't break into anything. Sophia Thompson has been living in a Pinnacle corporate apartment, paid for by the company. Corporate apartments can be inspected by authorized investigators when fraud is suspected. She handed me a photocopy of a text message thread. Sophia to Marcus. Daddy J is asking questions about Stanford payments. Should I tell him the money is from you instead? Marcus to Sophia. Keep playing the part. We need him stable until the loan is fully transferred. Sophia to Marcus. How much longer do I have to call him Daddy? It's getting weird. Marcus to Sophia. As long as he's useful. I read those messages 3 times before the words sank in. My daughter had been playing a role for 10 years. The little girl I'd loved, supported, sacrificed for. She thought I was weird. Beat 5, 1076, 1080 words. I want to hear her say it. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Jaden, that's not a good idea. Confronting them directly could compromise our investigation. I don't want a confrontation. I want a conversation. Father to daughter, one last time. Elizabeth looked at me carefully. What exactly are you thinking? I'm thinking I deserve to hear the truth from the person I raised, before lawyers get involved, before this becomes a case number. It took her 3 days to set up the meeting. Sophia agreed to meet me for coffee, probably because she thought she could manage the situation, control the narrative. We met at a Starbucks near her office. She looked beautiful, professional, confident, designer jacket, expensive handbag, the kind of polish that comes from never wanting for anything. Hi, Daddy. She hugged me, and for a moment, it felt real. Hello, sweetheart. You look successful. Things are good, really good. She ordered some complicated coffee drink that cost $8. I paid like I always had. We found a quiet corner table. For a few minutes, we made small talk. How was work? How was I feeling? How was treatment going? Then I put my phone on the table between us. Recording app visible. Sophia, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Her expression shifted, more careful. Okay. Who is your father? You are, Daddy. You know that. I know what's on the birth certificate I have, but I also know what's on the birth certificate the state has. 2 different documents. 2 different fathers. She was very still. I don't understand. Marcus Thompson is your biological father, isn't he? The silence stretched between us. I could see her calculating, deciding how much truth the situation required. Does it matter? She finally said. You raised me. You love me. I love you. Biology isn't everything. When did you find out? Find out what? When did you find out Marcus was your biological father? Another long pause. I've always known. Mom never hid it from me. But she hid it from me. She was trying to protect everyone. It's complicated. I leaned forward. Complicated how? Help me understand. That's when Sophia made her choice. Instead of continuing the lie, instead of protecting the fiction we'd both been living, she decided to tell me exactly what she thought of me. Okay, fine. You want the truth? Marcus is my father. He's always been my father. Mom married you because you had money and Marcus didn't. You were convenient. Convenient? You were stable, reliable, good provider, all the things Marcus wasn't back then. But he's successful now. Very successful. And you're sick. The words hit like physical blows. Sick. PTSD, depression, whatever. You're not the same person you used to be. Mom needs a partner who can handle the business, handle the pressure. You can't do that anymore. So you've been pretending to be my daughter for how long? I haven't been pretending. I do care about you. But you're not my dad. Marcus is my dad. He always has been. I looked at this young woman I'd loved unconditionally for 26 years. The college tuition I paid, the cars, the apartment, the credit cards. I needed those things. You had money. It seemed fair. Fair? You got to feel like a father. I got an education. Everyone won. What about now, when you don't need anything from me anymore? She looked genuinely puzzled by the question. I don't understand. Now that you're successful, now that Marcus can take care of you, what happens to me? You move on. Find your own life. Stop pretending we're something we never were. I turned off the recording app. One more question. Do you feel bad about any of this? She considered the question seriously. I feel bad that you're hurt. I never wanted to hurt you, but I don't feel bad about being honest about who my family really is. Your family. My family is Marcus and Victoria Thompson. It always has been. You've been like a very generous uncle. I stood up. Thank you for being honest. Daddy, are we okay? That word, Daddy, hit me differently now. Not affection, not love, just a habit she couldn't quite break. We're done, Sophia. We're completely done. I walked out of that Starbucks knowing I would never speak to her again, but I also walked out knowing exactly what I was going to do next. About 6. 1080 words. Elizabeth was waiting in her car across the street. She'd been recording the conversation through a directional microphone, back up to my phone recording. "That was brutal," she said when I got in. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I needed to know." The recording is admissible in court. Clear confession of fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit financial crimes. Good. What's our next step? James Patterson wants to meet tonight. Emergency session. He says what we've uncovered is bigger than just financial fraud. We met at James's law office at 8 p.m. Corporate lawyer, mid-40s, the kind of guy who wore expensive suits and charged $500 an hour, worth every penny. Jaden, sit down. What Elizabeth found requires federal intervention. Federal? The Thompson family has been running a sophisticated financial crime operation for over 2 decades. But that's not the scary part. He opened a laptop, showed me bank records. The scary part is that they've been planning your death. The room went quiet. My death? 3 weeks ago, Marcus Thompson made a $65,000 payment to a company called Security Consulting Solutions. Want to know what Security Consulting Solutions really does? Tell me. They provide wet work services to people who can afford it. Elizabeth pulled out more documents. We traced the payment. Security Consulting Solutions is run by a man named Carlos Mendez. Mr. Mendez has been arrested twice for murder for hire, never convicted. Very professional, very discreet. They want me dead? They want you to have an accident, James said. PTSD-related suicide, or maybe a car crash. Something that looks natural, but eliminates their biggest legal problem. Which is? You. As long as you're alive, you can challenge the fraudulent transactions. You can demand repayment of the loan. You can expose their criminal enterprise. But if you're dead, they inherit everything. Worse, if you die without challenging the fraud, it becomes legitimate. Statute of limitations runs out. The money they stole becomes legally theirs. Elizabeth showed me photographs taken with a telephoto lens. Marcus Thompson meeting with a Hispanic man in a restaurant. Envelope changing hands. Handshake. This was taken 4 days ago, the day after Sophia told Marcus about your coffee meeting. So they moved up the timeline. Carlos Mendez has been following you for 3 days. Your apartment, your usual routes, your schedule. He's preparing. James leaned forward. Jaden, you need federal protection tonight. Or you're going to have a very unfortunate accident in the next 72 hours. The weight of 26 years of lies crashed down on me all at once. The family I'd loved, sacrificed for, devoted my life to, they didn't just want me gone. They wanted me dead. But here's what they didn't understand about military engineers. We don't just solve problems. We plan for contingencies. James, how long do we have before they expect results from Mr. Mendez? Based on the payment schedule, probably a week. Elizabeth, how much evidence do we need to guarantee federal prosecution? What we have now is enough for financial crimes. But if we want them on murder for hire, we need them on tape discussing the hit. I thought about my options. Run and hide. Report everything to the FBI and hope for the best. Or, what if we gave them exactly what they want? Meaning, what if Jaden Murphy had a very public breakdown? What if he became desperate, unstable, willing to sign away everything just to make the pain stop? James caught on first. You want to wear a wire. I want to wear a wire and give them a chance to confess everything while they think they're winning. Elizabeth shook her head. Jaden, these people have been manipulating you for 26 years. They're good at it. What makes you think you can manipulate them? I smiled for the first time in weeks. Because they think I'm weak. They think I'm broken. They think I'm just a convenient victim who'll do whatever they tell me to do. Aren't you? I'm a combat engineer who's been planning fortifications for 30 years. And tomorrow, I'm going to show them what happens when the victim fights back. Bit 7, 1171, 1170 words. The plan was simple. I would contact Victoria, tell her I was ready to get help. I'd suggest meeting with both her and Marcus to discuss transitioning away from any remaining business relationships. I'd act desperate, confused, willing to sign whatever they wanted, and I'd be wearing an FBI wire the entire time. Agent Sarah Rodriguez briefed me at 6 a.m. the next morning. Federal building, downtown LA. Small room, big consequences. Mr. Murphy, you understand this is extremely dangerous. If they suspect you're recording, if they realize this is a setup, they'll call Mr. Mendez. They'll call Mr. Mendez. Are you prepared for that possibility? Agent Rodriguez, for 26 years, these people have been stealing my money, my identity, my family. Yesterday, I found out they want me dead. I'm prepared for anything. The wire was smaller than I expected. Digital recorder, transmitter, backup battery, taped to my chest, invisible under a loose shirt. Just act natural, Rodriguez said. Let them talk. Give them opportunities to confess. Don't push too hard, or they'll get suspicious. At 10 a.m., I called Victoria's office. Victoria, it's Jaden. I need help. Jaden. Her voice was cautious. How are you feeling? Not good. Confused. I keep thinking about things that don't make sense. About the company. About Sophia. About our marriage. I think I need professional help. Professional help is a great idea. I can recommend some excellent psychiatrists. I was thinking more about legal help, to make sure I don't cause problems for your family while I'm getting treatment. Long pause. What kind of legal help? Maybe we could meet, you, me, Marcus, work out some kind of arrangement so I stop bothering you while I figure out what's real and what's not? Another pause. I could hear her thinking, calculating. That sounds very reasonable, Jaden. Very mature. Could we meet today? I'm having a really bad day, and I'm afraid if I wait, I might do something stupid. Stupid how? I don't know. Call reporters, file lawsuits, make a scene. I'm not thinking clearly. Okay, yes, let's meet today. Marcus and I will clear our schedules. Where? Dr. Williams's office. He's the psychiatrist I mentioned. He can help facilitate the conversation, make sure everyone feels safe. Dr. Williams. I made a note. What time? 4 p.m. Don't worry, Jaden. We're going to take care of everything. The way she said take care of everything made my skin crawl. I spent the morning with Agent Rodriguez, rehearsing questions that might provoke confessions, how to appear vulnerable without seeming suspicious, how to get them talking about money, about Sophia, about their plans. At 3:30, I drove to Dr. Williams's office. Upscale medical building, discreet parking, perfect place for a private conversation. Dr. Williams was a thin man with kind eyes and a soft voice. He explained that he was there to facilitate healthy communication and ensure everyone's emotional safety. Victoria arrived at 4 exactly, looking concerned and professional. Marcus was with her, wearing what I now recognized as his concerned family friend expression. Jaden, Victoria said, giving me a hug that felt like ice. Thank you for reaching out. This is exactly the right thing to do. We sat in Dr. Williams' office, arranged in a circle. Victoria and Marcus on one side, me on the other, Dr. Williams moderating. Jaden, Dr. Williams began, Victoria has explained that you've been confused about your relationship with her family. Can you tell me what's been troubling you? I keep having these memories that don't match what everyone tells me. Memories of being married to Victoria, of raising Sophia, of owning part of the company. Victoria leaned forward, all sympathy. Jaden, your PTSD has created some very vivid false memories. It's more common than you might think. But I have documents, papers that show we were married. Marcus spoke up. Jaden, false documents are easy to create when someone is having a psychological crisis. Your mind created memories. Then you created paperwork to support those memories. Dr. Williams nodded professionally. Confabulation is a recognized symptom of severe trauma. So none of it was real? None of it was real, Victoria said gently. But that doesn't make your feelings less valid. You genuinely cared about our family. We genuinely care about you. What should I do? Well, Marcus said, the first thing is to make sure you don't accidentally cause legal problems for yourself or for us while you're getting treatment. Legal problems? If you try to claim ownership of property that isn't yours, or if you file false legal documents, that could be considered fraud, even if you're not doing it intentionally. Victoria nodded. We don't want you to get in trouble, Jaden, so maybe the best thing would be to sign some papers that make it clear you understand the real situation. What kind of papers? Marcus pulled out a manila folder. Just a simple acknowledgement that you were never married to Victoria, never adopted Sophia, never owned part of Pinnacle Dynamics. It protects everyone. And in return? In return, we'll make sure you get the best psychiatric care available. Private facility, excellent doctors, all expenses paid. Paid by who? By us, Victoria said, because we care about you. I looked at the papers. Legal documents, professionally prepared. If I signed them, I would be officially acknowledging that everything I remembered was a delusion. What if I don't sign? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Well, Marcus said slowly, that would be unfortunate. It would mean you're not ready to accept reality. It would mean you might do something that could hurt yourself or others. Like what? Like making false accusations, filing fraudulent lawsuits, harassing our family. Victoria leaned closer. Jaden, people who refuse to accept reality sometimes need more intensive help. Involuntary commitment for their own safety. The threat was clear. Sign the papers or be declared mentally incompetent. And if you sign, you get treatment. You get better and you get to start a new life. Clean slate. I picked up the pen. You'll really take care of everything? Everything, Marcus said. That's when I knew I had them. Beat 8, 719, 720 words. Before I sign, I said, I need to understand something. The money I've been paying for Sophia's education, where did that go? Victoria and Marcus exchanged a glance. Dr. Williams looked uncomfortable. Jaden, Victoria said carefully, you never paid for Sophia's education. Marcus paid for that. But I have bank records showing transfers. You have records showing transfers to accounts you thought were for Sophia's education, but those accounts were actually reimbursing Marcus for expenses he'd already covered. So my money went to Marcus. Your money went to repaying Marcus for expenses he shouldn't have had to cover in the first place. I let that sink in. How much money are we talking about? Marcus leaned back in his chair. Over the years, maybe 2-3 million, it doesn't matter. Water under the bridge. $3 million of my money went to repaying you for expenses you covered for your own daughter. Jaden, Dr. Williams interrupted, this kind of detailed financial discussion might not be helpful for your emotional state. No, it's okay, Victoria said. He deserves to understand. Jaden, you've been very generous to our family over the years. Too generous. It wasn't healthy for you to be so financially invested in people who couldn't return that level of commitment. So you took my money to protect me from my own generosity. We tried to be responsible with your contributions, but yes, essentially. And now? Now you need to focus on your mental health instead of money. I picked up the pen again. What happens if I get better? What happens if the treatment works and I want to restart my life? That would be wonderful, Victoria said. We'd be so happy for you. Would there be any financial support during my recovery? Marcus and Victoria looked at each other again, longer this time. What kind of support? Marcus asked. I don't know. Disability payments from the company, since I did work there for 20 years? You worked there as a contractor, Jaden. Contractors don't get disability. But I put $850,000 into the company at the beginning. That was a loan. The loan was repaid. What if I can't work again? What if the PTSD never gets better? Another long look between Victoria and Marcus. Well, Victoria said slowly, that would be very sad. But you'd help, right? You'd make sure I was taken care of? Jaden, Marcus said, we can't take financial responsibility for your long-term care. That wouldn't be fair to our family. So if I can't take care of myself, there are state programs, Dr. Williams offered. Social services, Medicare. Government assistance. If necessary, yes. I set down the pen. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. You want me to sign papers acknowledging that I have no claim to any money, any property, any family relationships. In return, you'll pay for a few months of psychiatric treatment. After that, if I can't work, I'm on my own. That's a very negative way to look at it, Victoria said. How should I look at it? You should look at it as a chance to start fresh, to build a life based on reality instead of delusions. A life with no money, no family, and no support system. A life with truth, Jaden. Truth is more important than money. Marcus checked his watch. Are you going to sign the papers or not? What happens if I don't? If you don't, Victoria said, then we have to protect ourselves, legally and personally. Meaning? Meaning we have to take steps to make sure you don't hurt yourself or our family. What kind of steps? Marcus leaned forward. The kind of steps that make problems go away permanently. The room went dead quiet. Dr. Williams was staring at Marcus like he'd just confessed to murder, which essentially he had. Permanently? I repeated. Some problems can't be solved with therapy, Jaden. Sometimes more direct solutions are necessary. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. You're a problem. Problems get solved. Victoria put her hand on Marcus's arm. Maybe we should take a break. But Marcus was past the point of careful language. No break. He signs the papers or we handle this differently. Differently how? However necessary. Accidents happen to unstable people all the time. I looked at Victoria. Is that what you want? For me to have an accident? She met my eyes. I want the problem to go away, Jaden. One way or another. That's when Agent Rodriguez and 3 FBI agents burst through Dr. Williams's door. To beat 901 words. FBI, nobody move! The expressions on their faces were priceless. Marcus went white. Victoria's mouth dropped open. Dr. Williams dove behind his desk. Agent Rodriguez held up her badge. Marcus Thompson, Victoria Thompson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, identity theft, and racketeering. I stood up, reached under my shirt, and pulled off the wire. Sorry about the deception, folks. Marcus found his voice first. You son of a bitch. Actually, that's wrong, too. My mother was a saint, unlike some people's daughters. Victoria was staring at me like I'd risen from the dead. You recorded us? Every word, including the part where Marcus threatened to make me have an accident, and you agreed that the problem needed to go away. Agent Rodriguez was reading them their rights while 2 other agents secured the room. Dr. Williams was still cowering behind his desk. Dr. Williams, I said, you might want to call a lawyer. Conspiracy charges tend to include everyone who facilitated the crime. As they led Victoria away in handcuffs, she stopped in front of me. I loved you, Jaden. At the beginning, I really did. No, you didn't. You loved my military settlement. You loved my steady income. You loved having someone to blame for your choices. But you never loved me. Marcus was less sentimental. As they walked him past me, he leaned close and whispered, This isn't over. Yeah, it is. But here's something you don't know yet. Want to hear about the other shoe dropping? What other shoe? Remember that $65,000 you paid Carlos Mendez? Turns out Mr. Mendez has been cooperating with federal authorities for 6 months. Every conversation you had with him was recorded. Every payment was tracked. Every plan you made was documented. The color drained from his face. That's impossible. Mr. Mendez was facing life in prison for 3 other murders. Funny how quickly people become cooperative when they're looking at the death penalty. Agent Rodriguez smiled. Mr. Thompson, you're not just looking at fraud charges. You're looking at solicitation of murder in the 1st degree. Federal court. Life without parole. That's when Marcus finally understood that he'd lost everything. As the agents led them away, Dr. Williams emerged from behind his desk. Mr. Murphy, I had no idea. I thought this was legitimate family therapy. Dr. Williams, you facilitated a meeting where they threatened to kill me. Your intentions don't matter. Your actions do. Agent Rodriguez handed me a business card. Jaden, we'll need you to come in tomorrow for complete statements. But I wanted you to know, this case is going to shut down one of the most sophisticated family fraud operations we've ever seen. How sophisticated? They've been running similar cons for 15 years. You're victim number 4. The other 3 men are dead. Dead? Accidents, car crashes, suicides, all very believable. All very convenient for the Thompson family. The weight of how close I'd come to being victim number 4 hit me like a physical blow. Agent Rodriguez, what happens to Pinnacle Dynamics? Federal asset seizure. The company will be liquidated and the proceeds used to compensate victims. Based on the corporate records we've recovered, you're the largest creditor. Creditor? Your original investment, plus 25 years of interest, plus fraudulent damages, plus pain and suffering. Preliminary estimate is about $90 million. I sat down hard in Dr. Williams' chair. $90 million? The company they built with your money is worth $195 million. You're entitled to almost half of it, plus damages. That evening I called Elizabeth Hayes. Elizabeth, I need to ask you something. Shoot. Did you know about the other victims? About how close I came to being killed? I suspected. The pattern was too clean, too perfect, but I couldn't prove it until we had them on tape. What happens now? Now you get your life back. Your real life, not the one they created for you. I don't even remember what my real life looks like. Then you get to build a new one, with your own money, your own choices, your own rules. That night, for the first time in 26 years, I slept without wondering if someone was going to betray me in the morning. It felt like coming home to myself. Beat 10, 628, 630 words. 6 months later, I was standing in the conference room at Pinnacle Dynamics, my conference room now, watching FBI agents box up the last of the evidence. The federal case had moved quickly. Marcus Thompson pled guilty to 3 counts of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and a dozen financial crimes. Life without parole. Victoria Thompson pled guilty to fraud and conspiracy charges. 25 years federal prison. Sophia had tried to claim she was an innocent victim, manipulated by her parents. The jury didn't buy it. 10 years federal prison for her role in the conspiracy. Dr. Williams lost his medical license and got 5 years for facilitating criminal activity. Carlos Mendez, in exchange for his testimony, got life with the possibility of parole in 30 years. The company liquidation had gone better than expected. After compensating the families of the other victims, after legal fees and court costs, I walked away with $91 million. Not bad for a retired combat engineer, but the money wasn't the real victory. The real victory was standing in that conference room, looking at photographs of the 3 men who'd come before me. William Patterson, age 58, car accident 2018. Robert Chen, age 61, suicide 2020. David Harrison, age 55, heart attack 2022. All 3 had been married to Victoria Rodriguez Thompson. All 3 had invested their life savings in businesses she controlled. All 3 had died when they started asking questions. I was supposed to be photograph number 4. Instead, I was the one putting flowers on their graves and writing checks to their surviving family members. Agent Rodriguez stopped by for the final paperwork. Any regrets, Jaden? About prosecuting them? None. About the 26 years? I thought about that. 26 years of loving a family that never existed. 26 years of working to support people who saw me as a convenient mark. 26 years of building a life that was entirely fiction. You know what's strange? I don't regret loving Sophia. Even knowing what she really thought of me, I don't regret being a father to her. Those feelings were real, even if she wasn't. That's very generous. It's not generous. It's true. I learned something important about myself. I'm capable of unconditional love. That's not something to regret, even when it's not returned. What about Victoria? Victoria taught me that love isn't just about giving. It's about choosing people who are worthy of what you're offering. I chose poorly, but I chose honestly. And Marcus? Marcus taught me that some people see kindness as weakness. They're wrong, but they're dangerous. Now I know the difference. Agent Rodriguez smiled. What's next for you? I'm starting a foundation, support services for veterans who've been financially exploited. Turns out it's more common than you'd think. Using the Pinnacle money? Using the Pinnacle money seemed like the right way to honor the men who came before me. And personally, new family, new relationships? Maybe, but this time I'm going to pay attention to actions instead of words, character instead of chemistry. That evening I drove out to the cemetery where William Patterson is buried. His gravestone reads, "Beloved husband and father." I wondered if he'd felt, at the end, the same betrayal I'd experienced. I left white orchids on his grave. The same kind I'd bought for Victoria that day in the office. I'm sorry they got you, William, but I got them back. The foundation would launch next month. Patterson House, we were calling it. A place where men who'd been conned by the people they loved could rebuild their lives with dignity. Because real family isn't about blood. It's not about convenience. It's not about what you can provide or how useful you are. Real family is about choice, about people who choose to value you who you are, not what you have. It took me 26 years and $90 million to learn that lesson, but some educations are worth the price. So if you've ever felt like a stranger in your own life, if you've ever loved someone who saw you as useful instead of irreplaceable, if you've ever wondered whether you matter to the people who matter to you, remember this. Your worth isn't determined by how much someone else is willing to take from you. Your worth is determined by how much you're willing to give to people who deserve it. Choose wisely.